Welcome. My name is Paul Gabrielson, and if you don't know me, I'm one of the bass players and one of the teachers here. I guess I have a little handout about practice habits, and I think Anton talked a lot about practicing last week with his app, which was fantastic. And I was going, oh man, what am I going to talk about? Because he kind of covered it all. But I have a couple things I'd like to say, and I've got 30 copies, so if I don't have enough, let me know. We'll print out a couple more. Most of these guys in the front row, they don't need any help with practicing. And most of you guys don't need any help with practicing because you're already here. So but I have this nerdy video that I want to play for you guys. This guy's kind of my hero because every time I watch it, I see something in it that I should probably apply to my own practice regimen. And let's see if I can get it going here. There we go. So this guy's name is David Finkel, and he's a cellist in New York City, as you can tell from this apartment that he practices in. And I'm not sure if he's a member of the symphony or if he's just a freelance guy who does Broadway shows and stuff. But there's a lot of opportunities for musicians in New York, especially cellists. He does a lot of work. He's like I said, he's a little bit of a nerdy fellow, but he's really got his practice thing together. And I think I played it for you last year. I'm not sure, but if I did, in music, redundancy's not bad. Always learn. Let's see this. Let's see if it plays. No sound. This is why. This guy plays cello.
Here's what I do. You follow me right over here. You see my cello's hanging up on this bookshelf, and it's got two little eyelets secure in the wood, and this is speaker wire. And it just goes right through the scroll, and the end pin is actually stuck into the scroll, so it's supported very securely here. It's not going to go anywhere. And all I have to do in order to start practicing is just unhook the scroll out of there, take it out, take the bow out, and put the C string, and I'm ready to go. So let's go over here to where I actually sit. The first thing that I have to have, especially because I kind of have a bad back, is I have to have a chair with good support in the back. This is a special chair that comes all the way from Australia. You can actually adjust the height of the legs and the back and everything, so I have to adjust it for myself so that I'm really comfortable. So when I sit down, I'm very comfortably supported in the back, and I can sit here for quite a long time. Now you'll notice, in terms of light, I have a big window here, but it's not really enough light coming through at all times of the day. So the best kind of light is one that comes right straight down from where your music is. This is just a cheap hardware store shade with a bulb in it. Turns on or off. But when I put a piece of music here, you can see it really, 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 really well. And what's important, of course, about this thing is not just a regular music stand. It's something I made. It's very hardware, it's very, very stable, so that when I write, I can write on it, I can press really hard, and nothing goes through the back, or the stand doesn't fall over. There's nothing worse than trying to write on a music stand that's falling over. You notice in my hand I have a very, very sharp pencil, and I have a special eraser on the end of it. There's nothing worse than when those little erasers get a little dirty and they smudge your music. So for that reason, I keep the pencil sharpener handy. And I actually have lots of these little erasers. Right next to me here, I have the practice view, which I use quite a bit to make the sound softer. That way, I force myself to play really, really loud without disturbing the neighbors, and also not fooling myself because it's a small room into thinking I'm making a big sound. My little scrubber here came off. That's another lesson in awesome, and cleaning the strings, and then my rosin right here. I have my little 4-minute timer clock that I got at Starbucks, which if you press one button, it gives you 4 minutes, and it makes you do something for 4 whole minutes. You know, it's a simple little passage. You'll get a lot done that way. I have a pitch machine here, which gives me a pitch to tune to. And also something to play against to make sure that my intonation is good. And I have a very good metronome here. It's called DOS. It gives me all kinds of rhythms. So basically, I'm all set up here. The last thing I need to have handy is right here. It's my music. It's everything that I have to practice. So everything is within arm's reach. I can come here. I can start practicing in under 60 seconds. Tuned and ready to go. And the trick is make it really easy for yourself so that you can practice even if it's a very short amount of time.
Great, and he's really put together a nice thing. Now, some of the things that I notice about this, which I want to incorporate for myself, is the music stand that he's got that you can write against, because we all have music stands, but whenever you're trying to, even when I'm teaching a lesson and I'm using a music stand, the things, it's impossible to write fingerings for. A lot of us have different fingerings, string instrument players or whatever. So I really want to make one of these things for myself. So every time I watch this video, I go, I gotta get one of those things made. But what are some of the other things that we notice in this video that he's got? Well, he's got everything here. He's not, like I noticed on one of my things that I mentioned here is don't spend all your practice time gathering your supplies, because humans are really good at procrastination, and I'm an ultimate procrastinator. I can start practicing as soon as I get my coffee, and then, well, I might need a glass of water, or where's my rosin? I can't find my rosin. So we can spend a lot of time procrastinating, and so if you can spend a little time, just organize yourself. It's not going to take much, some of the other things, he's got his instrument ready to go. It's not in the instrument case, so it's sitting out available at all times. So when you come home from your school, come home from your practice tonight or whatever, take your instrument out of your case. Put the case away. Don't leave it on the floor open so your mom or your dad or your brother or sister can trip over it, or you'll trip over it, or it'll get in the way and you go, I can't practice. The instrument case is in my way. Who's ever made that excuse before? Yeah, it's impossible. I can't do it. I better watch the Democratic debates instead. So, which you are missing right now. No big deal, because they'll air it again and again. What are some of the other things that we noticed about this? So he had his instrument ready. He's got a nice place to sit. He's got his own little studio apartment in New York City. You can tell that might be was probably not in Manhattan Plaza. It's a little older than that. Looks like a pre-war building, but he's got it all together for his world of cello. And this happens for all of us as musicians, as we have our world of our instrument. So this is a good thing to do, is get all your accoutrements together, get your music ready to go. If you have a music player or something, then get that going. So, and as students, I remember being in high school, and it was almost impossible to create a private space to practice. Now, does anybody find it a challenge to have a place to practice at home? Yes. So it can be, because you're like, I remember practicing and my mom would come storming in, and how come you didn't take out the garbage? Like, So if you can gather up a space to work in, that'll even be helpful. Your bedroom, do not disturb sign. Get your dad to bring one home from a hotel or something, hang it on the door. Do not disturb practice time, or make one. What else do I got here? Number 4, I didn't number these, but it says there is no finish line, which is a thing that a man named Jerome Gray used to tell me, and some of us in here have studied with him. And he was all about just getting at what you're doing, and just be consistent about it. And I believe that this is how it works. The more you practice, the more you get at it. You're not going to have any goal-specific things. This isn't a football team. We're not trying to win a game here. We're going for the long haul, and we're trying to establish good practice habits. Having a goal-oriented practice might be good if you're trying to get ready for a performance or something, but that performance will pass, and another performance will come along, and you'll have to learn something new. So what we have to do is spend the majority of our practice time putting together our abilities to be able to perform whatever comes our way. It says map out your practice time. So how many of us have mapped out our practice time in the last week? Okay, a couple of us. Now, as you can see, the example that I've written here, that I put together like an hour and 15 minutes with a little break. It doesn't take much time. If you map it out, you see how I got to practice my instrument again, or I need to get some time to practice it, or I'm not really into it. If you can put together a time, whether it's a half an hour or an hour, or if you have the ability, since it's summertime, to do two hours or something, that'd be great. But map it out a little bit. It doesn't have to be a big plan. Just write it out, and if you get it out of your head, write it down. It's going to make a big difference. Last year I handed out some yellow legal pads. I thought, did anybody ever put those to use? Yeah, those are great, aren't they? Costco, yeah. Oh, we still got us. Okay. Yay. So now one of the things, the next thing I put in is visualization. Now, a lot of us do this naturally. We've done this our whole lives. But how many of us do this with our music or our practicing? And like a lot of times when I'm laying in bed getting ready to sleep, I'll think about a performance I had, or I'll think about something I'm learning how to play, or I'll come up and I'll visualize how I'm going to play it on the upright bass, and where my shifts will occur, or how I could do it differently, and so I could actually practice away from my instrument. And if I go over it and I can consciously meditate on it and go over it and over and over it, it'll really make a difference in my playing. It really does. And I think this is something that humans have the ability to do. We do it our whole lives. We dream. We visualize scenarios that we would want to happen. And then when it comes to improvisation, does anybody do visualization for improvisation? This guy does, I know. He's always soloing like John Coltrane. But try it tonight when you're going to sleep. Just think of your instrument. Think of either getting a big sound on your bass, or how you're going to get a bigger sound, or visualize playing a giant bass and being able to just scale all over it, or arpeggiate those things you cannot play. But you can do it when you're visualizing. So it's a great way. It's a great way to up your game as a musician, and there's no critics. There's nobody can hear you. You got it all together. What is this? Begin at the end. If you're working on a piece of music, I suggest, play through it. But then if you're trying to get something together, like say a concerto or any kind of head or something, like the heads aren't that long, so I don't really include that in the thing. But say you're working on a sonata or a concerto or a symphonic piece or something like that, which you will be doing if you go to college or something. You just parse it out and get your phrases together. Start with the back end, bring it forward, and that way the end won't be weak. You won't be making mistakes at the end of the piece. Like I used to do this when I was in I did a lot of drama in college and high school, so I would learn my scripts from the back line first. And it helped me make fewer mistakes. Notice how I said fewer. Find a practice pal. Now, this is a good one, because most of from my experience, most of my growth has come from playing with people. Once in a while I get together with Michael and he'll play something on the bass and I'll go, what was that? What is that you're playing? Because he's such a great musician that I can always learn something from Michael. Or Dan and I will get together and play some classical things, or we'll play some jazz, and I'll always learn something from him. For years ago I used to jam with Milo. He'd always have a practice space in his basement. Guys would come over every week or twice a week, and we'd play everything from Art Blakey. We'd go through his arrangements. I met a lot of people. I learned a lot of things. It all came from these connections with other people, especially in this world of jazz. It's who you know and who you've met, and especially in your formative years now as students and as you go off to college, these are the people that you're going to know for the rest of your life, especially if you go to Berkeley or you go to Manhattan School of Music or something like that. These musicians you'll go, oh, I knew that guy. The guy, he's playing at Jazz Alley, or he's playing the North Sea Jazz Festival. Yeah, I went to school with that guy. So the deeper connections you can make with people, or people on your own instrument, is going to be it's going to be really helpful. So who in here has practice pals that you work with? A couple. Okay. So how about the bass players? Do the bass players get together and play? Do we have bass players that get together? See, I'm still laughing, so I'm guessing the answer is no. Well, we're going to get together as bass players, and we're gonna map out a little journey. Who's gonna get together and practice together? Because there's nothing more satisfying than two bass players playing together, or three. And the same goes for all instruments. So now, when you're all done with your hard work, I would suggest every once in a while reward yourself with a treat or something, or whatever that treat can be. You know, for me, it might be a cup of coffee, or might be going for a run, or going to the gym or something like that. Some way I can break free of the constraints of the day, because time can, none of us have any more time in a day than the rest of us. So to have a little reward system is a good thing, especially in music, because you're working hard. The focus that you have isn't the same as studying for an exam. The focus you have as a musician, I believe, is much more intense. So then I got a couple more things at the end. It's like ask your fellow musicians what they're listening to, or what they're practicing, or who they're going to go see, or especially recordings and stuff like this. Whenever I'm with Michael, I always say, what are you practicing? He goes, I don't know, Bach. Or I'm practicing this, or he'll play some cool lick, and I'll go, I'll have to record it. Or I've had bass players come over and I record the way they play. Or when I used to study with John Patitucci, I'd get my little video out and watch his right hand to try to figure out how he would make that unbelievable sound on his bass. I never did figure it out. But anyway. And then find people to play with, like to jam. Get some jams going. This is one of the most important things. You'll discover yourself as an instrumentalist more this way than you will alone in your room. Now, you're going to have to work on your own stuff alone, but playing duets or trios, or even a jam session, get a pianist to play with so you can work on your improvisation over chords, or a great guitarist like we have here in the front row. Or what's this? Or bribe your band director for a key so you got a place to practice or jam. So I don't know if he's here tonight. I don't think so. So That was a jab at Jake, but I don't see him here, so.
Yeah.
And that kind of concludes it. I think Michael and I are going to play something for you. Are we?
Yes.
Okay.
Sure.
We'll play something.
Hey, before you go there, I have a couple questions.
Okay.
You might want to take some questions from them too. But before I say that, how many people have anything like the guy on the screen? Does anybody have practicing like that? Okay. A little bit. Okay. It's always not surprising when I see the ones who can raise their hand and do it, because it makes a difference. Just so you know, we have 4 more weeks after today. How many people know what time to open this up? Anybody know? 5 o'clock. I've been there for 10 years, and I've tried to come here at 5 o'clock all those years. And I will tell you that all your best players come early. That's what I've seen over the years. And not big surprise. If you're able to, because that whole thing of having a place to practice, you have like 4 practice rooms plus a bunch of other places. So you can't do it in at home or wherever you live sometimes. So you can come here and no one's going to bug you. I walk around and make sure everybody's okay. So you have some options there. You should take advantage of those options. You really should.
And you can meet somebody else.
Exactly, your buddy.
Because that thing of doing things together, it's like, it's the biggest thing that's missing from your lives. You know,
Yes.
Your screens isolate you and give you this virtual community, and virtual community is worth absolutely nothing. It's the enemy of all musicians. Real community is the only way you can really learn to play the music. So you gotta get rid of your screen and get another human being in the room with you. Figure out how to make it work.
Yeah. A couple more things is like, does anybody have any music apps that they work with on their phones? Can I ask, what are you using?
Amazing slow down.
What's that? What does that do?
Slows down music. It even works. Well, if you buy the $15 version, which I did, it works with things like Spotify Premium and Apple Music. So it's actually like really worth the money. So instead of like trying to fiddle around with YouTube and like this horrible distorted sound that it gets, like when you like take it down to like 0.25, 0.5 speed. Amazing slow downer is good at not distorting the sound to a point where it's like hard to hear. Also, looping in like a specific portion of the music that you want to work on is really easy with. Instead of having to be like, oh, I have to, like, especially if you're doing it on your phone, trying to like use your finger to go back to a certain spot every time is.
Yeah, you can set. I have transcribe on my phone, so that one works. Probably very similar.
Yeah, another good one is AnyTune, but the bad thing about AnyTune is that it doesn't work with Spotify Premium or Apple Music. But I like the way AnyTune works. So in the future, if AnyTune is able to work with Spotify Premium or Apple Music, then that would be my first choice. But Amazing Slow Downer is good.
Okay. Any other suggestions for apps?
Drum Genius.
Drum Genius, I got that one. Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, Drum Genius was created by a bass player, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he went through and transcribed drummers, and now they're not the actual recordings of the drummers, right? They're
Well, actually, you can use actual recordings of. I don't know how they recorded it, but
Milo probably knows more about
No,
it.
he made them digitally from his transcriptions.
yeah.
Okay.
They sound really good. And another helpful thing I've been using the app for is there's this metronome on it that does like odd meter time signatures, and it does different subdivisions of those.
Oh,
So I've been playing a lot of stuff in odd meter with like jai. So for instance, we have like a song that we play in 11/8, and it's really useful to use that subdivision of that metronome, so we can do like 3/2, 3/2, or it like splits it up.
oh,
Right.
okay. So what's the name of that one?
It's still Drum Genius. It's
Drum
just a
Genius.
different
Oh,
feature
it's got a
on it.
metronome in it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll have to check that. I didn't even explore it that far. I was just like, oh, Joe Jones, oh, cool. So obviously, we could talk all night about all these things. I have a couple that I like to use when I'm on the road. I have a metronome that is very unsophisticated. I think it's just called metronome, but it looks like this. Does anybody have this one? Yeah. Well, the thing I like about this one, it just is it makes a noise. But if I go down here, I can scroll. I got a 1 to 30. So if I press like a 5 minute, it'll give me a timer. It'll time me for 5 minutes. So already I've eliminated the having to parse out my practice schedule by minutes. So I can say, I'm going to practice this for 5 minutes, I'm going to practice it for 30 minutes. You can even change the tempo as your timer goes off. So if you got 30 minutes to practice, voila, it's done. A couple more things that I do real quick. I know we want to get to our practice rooms and start jamming here. What else do I use? I've got a tone generator that creates a tone so I can practice my scales or whatever I am against it, so I can work on my intonation. Does anybody do this? Work on your intonation? Okay, this is a good thing to do. Bass players is to play against a sound so we can hear how especially as bass players, we can hear how our notes react to a specific